Has someone ever told you a story before where you thought to yourself, there's absolutely no way this person is telling the truth. This has to be a made-up story. Well, there's a situation going on right now, and it's going viral on TikTok. And if it wasn't for the single fact that it was recorded from multiple angles, actually, nobody would ever believe that such a random sequence of unlikely events could have possibly occurred in real life. Let me start by showing you the video first, because I think a lot of the reason why this video went so viral is because of the fact that there's no context. And then afterwards, I'll give you the context.
General, coming up more news, including another sequel topping the box office this weekend. We'll tell you what that is.
Hey, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, this guy just pulled out a watermelon from his car and he thought it was fantastic to that time. Yeah.
It's a very confusing video when there's no context. And there's a lot of questions, like the guy filming the guy with the watermelon, is that his car? Why is he so angry that somebody took watermelon out of the car? Why was there a watermelon in the car to begin with? Why is the guy who grabs the watermelon not speaking? And I have the answer to a lot of those questions. And this whole situation gets more and more bizarre as more details come out. It's not every day that you see a POV video of somebody walking into an upside down car, pulling out a watermelon, and then getting yelled at by some random onlooker. But what makes this situation somehow even crazier is that the guy yelling at the guy holding the watermelon is not just some random passerby. He's the host of the NFL Red Zone Network channel. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a popular channel for NFL fans where they go over situations where a team is about to score a touchdown or a field goal, because of the fact that on any given Sunday, there's probably 10 plus games going on, and it's hard to flip through the channels, so they do this for you. His name is Scott Hanson. And if we listen to a quick segment just to compare voices.
But this is our last day for our Halloween decorations, and we know that we have hit a nerve with you folks over the 12 years we've been doing NFL Red Zone.
Oh my God. So it's the guy, clearly. So now we have a little bit more lore. Now we know that Scott Hanson, for some reason, is the guy recording the watermelon guy. And I wanted to find Scott Hanson's video because clearly he's recording this. I thought maybe he would have posted it. I tried to find it on TikTok, but it's nowhere to be found. I just kept getting rickrolled and jump scared. But that did lead me to Scott Hanson's Twitter, where he didn't post about it per se, but he was replying to a lot of tweets because he has been getting a ton of questions about this. And it's kind of sad and weird, but I mean, maybe it's a good thing, but it is wild to think that this guy has dedicated 10 plus years of his life to being on television, and his big moment of fame is some video where he's recording some guy stealing a watermelon out of a car that flipped over. The world works in mysterious ways. And it wasn't until after reading Scott Hanson's replies where I kind of realized that the guy who took the watermelon's kind of a scumbag. Because if you read this one, Scott says, "Yes, I am fine. I was a witness. I wasn't in either car. Terrible crash. I checked in on the survivors and then saw that jackwagon trying to exploit the situation for social media. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, but I was and am disheartening." By the way, jackwagon, incredible insult. And in another reply, he says, "Yes, 2 people could have died, and that clown was excited about his TikTok. I couldn't believe it. You know his name/identity? He jetted when the police were pulling up. I videoed just in case he was doing something illegal. In parentheses, tampering with the scene of a crime. So disappointing." So according to Scott, the guy walked into the car, filmed the video, pulled out the watermelon, and then ran away so the police didn't catch him. Now, from what we understand at this point, the people survived, and we don't know if the watermelon guy knew if the people survived. So for all we know, he could have just walked into a terrible, gruesome crime scene where people could potentially be dead and then stole something out of a car. It's not a good look. There's levels to why this is weird. The first being the excitement of, hey, let me film this, being his first reaction. The second thing being the violating factor of going into somebody's car and taking something out. It's kind of fucked up. There's speculation of if the guy planted the watermelon and then went back into the car to take it out. I personally don't think he did that, because if that happened, then Scott Hansen probably would have caught that happening, because I think Scott Hansen was there before this guy. But that's not super important. And for a little bit, we didn't know who the watermelon guy was. But now he's known. Now we know who he is. And if we go in his profile, he looks exactly what you'd expect him to look like. Kind of just looks like a Beverly Hills, LA rich kid. He's got the pink hair, trying to look edgy.
And she gave no fucks. Not even.
You can't take him out! He's different! He's not the same! You are you, but he...
It makes a lot of sense that this guy sees a car accident. His first instinct is to go inside and take something, because it's funny, and film it and post it to TikTok. He's young. His frontal lobe not fully developed. He's still making dumb decisions. And since this happened, it's always been talking about on his account.
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team here. Nigga started.
This guy's saying bro's whole personality is about a watermelon. And it's true, because you can't see stories on desktop. I don't have the app, so I'll just throw them on the screen. But all he's talking about is the watermelon since it's happened. So he really has since turned his personality into the watermelon guy in an attempt to ride the fame out from this video. And I'm curious to see what his next moves are. Can he successfully pivot into a social media career? Because that would be interesting. It would take a bit of a marketing genius to take this one incident and be able to make a career out of it. And if he can, that props to him. That would be very genuinely impressive. He's currently promoting his Snap, his Instagram, and he's kind of exposing Barstool as well for being nice to him in his DMs to get the rights to his video, and then calling him a clown when posting about him. And I think it's fine to do one or the other, but doing both of these things, it shows that a lot of these media companies, they move in a certain way, and that way is being fake, desperate, and just bottom feeders, really. So despite me not agreeing with what he did with the watermelon, I do respect the Barstool call out. So the mysterious Juan, whose name previously, before he started getting viral fame, was God, and he decided to change it, maybe to make him look better. Maybe it's not a good look to have your name as God. He finally is talking, so we're going to get a chance to hear his voice. And there's two sides to the story. At first, we only had Scott Hansen's side, but now we have Juan's side. So let's take a listen.
All right, so here's the context you've been missing. Basically, I'm with a couple of friends, and we just got done eating, and we're gonna go see a movie. And we see the car accident, so we're like, okay, let's pull over, let's see what happened. So we pull over, and then I get a little closer, and I see the driver of the other car. He like identifies himself, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, she just like hit me out of nowhere. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then he mentioned that the driver of the people who were in the car that was flipped over had like gone into one of the buildings that was like right there.
So he's saying that the people are okay, and he checked on them. So that's important. Points to Juan, if true, because we don't know.
Pretty sure that's what he said, but yeah, because they weren't there, and then nobody had shown up yet. There was no ambulance or anything yet, so this was like right in between, like right after the accident, before any emergency services showed up. So my friend starts talking to the driver of the other car, and then I'm like, okay, and then I peek my head into the upside down car, and I see that there's a watermelon in there. I'm like, what the hell? So yeah, I reached in. Oh, sorry. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start recording. So I backed up a bit, and I started recording, and I was just gonna like record myself like pulling the watermelon out, and then maybe just showing it, and it was gonna go on like my Instagram story. There's a lot of crazier videos out there. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But as I'm pulling it out, I hear the, hey man, what are you doing? That was horrible, but yeah. And so I'm thinking like, oh dude, that's a cop. But then I came out all the way to the car, and I'm like, oh, it's just the guy. It's the Red Zone Ranger. I didn't recognize it was him at the time, to be honest. I don't watch a lot of football, but yeah, so at that point, he's just like, hey man, what are you doing? And he just starts like rambling a bit. I don't even really remember. And then I accidentally stopped recording. Like I swiped my recording to my home screen. That's why you see there's like a cut in the video, is because like I accidentally stopped recording. I was holding my phone with my left hand, watermelon with my right. So I'm like scrambling to start recording again, and that's when I started recording again. And that's where the cut ends, and then the next part of the video begins, where he's like filming me and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I didn't really know what to do. Like, I've never been in a situation like that. I was just kind of like, all right, just let this guy go off, I guess. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know Scott Hansen when I was pulling myself out of the car or whatever. Or when I was recording it. I don't know why I said pulling myself out of the car. But yeah, that's what happened. And it was just gonna go on my Instagram story or something. It wasn't gonna be a whole TikTok, but he made it something people wanted to watch, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, there you go.
After seeing this response, he doesn't seem like a bad person. He kind of just seems like an idiot kid who is growing up in this time where I guess recording stuff like this is socially acceptable to younger people. He claims he checked if the people were okay. He claims he did not plant the watermelon, which, whew, glad he said that. He didn't really get into the nitty-gritty on if it was right or wrong what he did. He kind of just gave a play-by-play. The part about it being an Instagram story and somehow turning into a TikTok, I don't really understand that one. At what point do you post it onto TikTok? At what point is this Scott Hansen's fault for it becoming a TikTok? Maybe it's Scott Hansen's fault why it went viral, but you still posted it. So that part didn't really make sense, but he seems like an okay person. What he still did, absolutely do not ever do. Don't go into a person's car that has flipped over and take something out of it and film it and post it to TikTok. Whether it's food or an actual item, it's just a weird violation of somebody's property. And I'm sure you would be pretty pissed off if your car was upside down. Your life is essentially in a terrible situation because now you have to pay for whatever damages. You're in a shit ton of trouble now. And now you see some kid going into your car and filming, taking out a watermelon. It's just odd. But that being said, the dude made a mistake. It's not like he murdered somebody. When his frontal lobe fully develops, I'm sure the urge to film because you see a watermelon and you think that's a funny meme, I'm sure that urge will eventually leave his system. But that's really it. I just thought that this whole situation, it was so wild to watch it unfold, from knowing absolutely nothing from the first video to eventually finding out the guy yelling at the watermelon guy is a famous TV Red Zone channel commentator guy, to finding out that this guy is now dropping videos trying to capitalize on the fame. It's a remarkable time we live in now that we get to see stuff like this. It's reality TV unfolding right before our own eyes. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.